Well, I was born in 1934 in Liverpool and lived for the first few years with mum and dad in a small terraced house in a place called Fishguard Street, which was part of Everton. And that's me with my dog Bo. Or without my dog Bo, I took the picture. That's me in sitting in a train in Southport, Lakeside Gardens. That's my mum and my sister. That's my mum, my dad. That handsome young man is me reading the newspaper. And that handsome young man is me walking along the front. That handsome young man again is me. Look at that, isn't he handsome for a year? And there's me practising for when I'm in the army. At the end of 1939, war broke out, and in early 40 I was evacuated to Wales, to a place called Carnarvon. Got very fed up with having my mum, so I decided to go back to Liverpool, which was quite an adventure. Doing all the things you're not allowed to do that health and safety now would say are forbidden, hanging on the back of lorries, what have you. And I finally made my way back to Liverpool, only to find that my mum wasn't there anymore. She'd been evacuated as well, and surprise, surprise, she was in Carnarvon. So the police sent me back to Carnarvon, and I found that my mum was living in the next street. And all went very well for a while, and probably for the next year or so we were quite happy there. September of 1950 I met Nan for the first time, and then in 1956 I got married. Shortly after that we bought our first house. And at that time, I was actually earning £400 a year.
Well, when we were first going out, the only thing we ever did was went to walks together, really. You know, often go for a lot of us at our church youth club, but sometimes we'd go off into the local town, or the two, one each side of us, Watford or Rickmansworth, and we'd walk about 2 miles to either of them, have a cup of coffee somewhere, or a cup of tea or cold drink, and we couldn't afford anything else, so we'd then walk home again, and that would be our date, if you like. I think I might not have told you before as well. We were coming back, it was dark, and he never smoked cigarettes or anything, but he did used to have a pipe, and he had it in his hand, and he got the stuff in his hand to fill it with. And I said, throw that dirty thing away, I don't like it. So he threw it over the hedge, as he thought. He went back later to find it, found he'd thrown it in the canal. He hadn't lived long enough there to know where the canal was. So he never smoked again.
My major interest would be in the technology field. And you press it like that, and you see all the pictures you've got on there. There's a picture, you see, of my handsome young grandson. Something's upsetting him, you can see that, can't you? I wanted my son to learn about computing, and the only way I could get him to learn was by learning myself and hopefully teaching him. And we had a fairly healthy rivalry when he was a teenager as to who could produce the better programs, who could do the better things, basically. Of course, I always won. This one has a 21 times zoom. It's got Android computing built into it. See? The only thing is, when you boot it up, it takes a long time, particularly if the battery's flat. Then I can zoom from there as long as I can keep it still, it will focus. See, 21 times. And then when I get bored with that, I press the button. And it becomes a little computer. December 1953. Good in history, English, geography, French, mathematics, shorthand, bookkeeping. Good work, only fair. He has improved and might get through. Doesn't get through what though? I must make sure that gets destroyed before I go, because I wouldn't like that to become general knowledge. My proudest achievement, I would just say having a couple of children and grandchildren that we're still very close to, having a good wife that looks after me, learning to cook so I can do her meals for her every day, and basically just being a family man. That's my proudest achievement.
He always puts me first. He takes me to all interesting places. He looks after me. He does all the cooking nowadays. After he retired, I made him do the cooking, and he does the cleaning as well most of the time, except when I've got my grandson doing it. It's just part of me. We just love each other.
Well, obviously it's got to be one of those best kept secrets. When my daughter and son planned an 80th birthday party for me that I wasn't supposed to know anything about. And anyone that knows my family will know that they can't possibly keep secrets. They're quite incapable of keeping secrets. So I had some inkling of what was going on. That said, it was great to have my friends and my family around me on that day. It was probably the coldest day of the summer, and I still enjoyed every minute of it. We had a marquee in the garden, we had a good band playing, and I think everybody had a good time despite the cold. When I get buried, I will have my iPad buried with me.
Well.
Before my wife gives it away. and I will. I want to send her messages.
Stop.
I'm going to sort of sit here and talk into this and pretend I'm making a podcast or doing something highly intelligent, swooning or all that sort of thing. Doesn't get through what though?